Hello? Am I out there? Oh, here I am. Hi. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome on this beautifully sunny day. Let's everybody go ahead and stand. Let's do our welcome song. Hit it, Mitch. Hit. Just push the button, Mitch. No pressure. No, he's good. He's got it. Maybe. No, he's coming. There we go. Yeah.
Wilbur and Orville had a dream. Nothing is impossible. Imagine if a man took wing. Nothing is impossible. People laugh, it can't be done. Man's not meant to fly. Their little dream changed everything. They dared to touch the sky. Nothing is impossible. Dreams are made to shine. When you blow by every obstacle and move like you're unstoppable, nothing is impossible. There's a place inside of you where nothing is impossible. Oh, the great things you will do, 'cause nothing is impossible. You were born into this world with everything you need. Hold on to your heart, the magic starts the moment you believe. Nothing is impossible. Dreams are made to fly. When you blow by every obstacle and move like you're unstoppable, nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. You were born to shine. When you blow by every obstacle and move like you're unstoppable, nothing is impossible.
Thank you. Let's welcome Kevin. So notice how high the microphone will be for Kevin.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. If any of you haven't been around church for the last 4 or 5 weeks, you might not know that Reverend Mary is retired and living in northern Minnesota. So we're here in a whole new era as we search for a new minister, and we've got a great speaker here today named Russ Ganant, who's came and spoke to us as part of the remembrance over our 100th anniversary. He was a big part of the Unity West movement, and he's been a part of Unity since he was a little child. So he's well versed in the principles, and he's going to share some great information with us today. But let's get started with our statement of faith. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good omnipotence. In our affirmation, thank you, God, that we have come to this place to release the past, celebrate the present, and embrace the future in love, peace, harmony, and prosperity. And here is our affirmation for our center. We at the Unity Center are a loving, diverse, inclusive spiritual community who come together to demonstrate and live the teachings of Jesus Christ by listening, learning, and empowering ourselves and others. So, do we have any prayer requests? Just a first name and the reason for the request is fine. Yes. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Cindy? Okay, very good. And yes. Okay. Okay. Yes, Sandy? Okay. 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 Anybody else? Yes. Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Okay. One second here. Okay. So join me in praying for all of these intentions here. We have almost everyone here is in need of some kind of healing or peaceful transition and support of the family members involved. So let's just send out our light and our love to Carol and Reverend Jenny, the storm victims, the dancing grandma, Sandy's friend, Cleo, Chloe. Let's hold them in the light of the Christ Spirit, knowing that that energy is alive in each of us at all times, everywhere, every day, in every way, but knowing that as we move that energy through us to them, that we are helping to support them and strengthen them, that they might better be able to heal themselves and understand the role of healing and the role of this situation in their lives. Let's just hold them in the light for just a few seconds. And so it is. So I've asked Sue to come up and read the daily word today.
Good morning. The word for today is joy. I feel fully alive and joyous. I feel the joy of God within me as a gentle spring bubbling up within my heart and bringing energy to all I do. This reassuring feeling is a sure sign that I'm living in harmony with my true spiritual identity. I discover joy by connecting with the Christ within. As I become a greater conduit, I find renewed kindness and love to share this holiday season. I express compassionate love as I align my heart with the great heart of God, which beats with a steady rhythm of joy. I share joy through selfless service. Every day offers an opportunity to make a difference by lifting others with a considerate gesture or a quiet word. Each act of kindness fills my heart with joy. For the Lord will comfort Zion. Joy and gladness will be found in her, thanksgiving and the voice of song. Isaiah 51:3.
And we're going to have some songs right now.
It's not going to be me, but being a lucky
Yeah, there we go. I have talented friends and they're going to do La Vie en Rennes. It's beautiful and it's Linda and Doug.
I learned this week that when we're making mistakes, it means our brain is in growth mode. So here's to mistakes and growth and music.
All right, I'd like to welcome Russ up here for his talk and meditation today.
Oops. Good morning. As I look out into your faces this morning, I realize I don't know many of you, and you don't know me. I hope in the future to remedy that. My name is Russell Ganant. My mother took me to a Unity Sunday school when I was 5 years old. It was down on Prospect and North when this church was in a funeral home down there. She would take me down there. We'd drive out the expressway and we'd drive out Blue Mountain Road to 76th Street where the expressway stopped. And then we'd have to take the expressway to downtown Milwaukee. But it wasn't, I forget how old I was when Unity West was formed to give Milwaukee a church on the west side, a Unity Church on the west side. And so I became very involved in Unity West. I grew up in Unity West. And I have 3 sons that were also raised in Unity. And I had the great pleasure of being a YOU sponsor for them for 10 years. It was instrumental in helping to raise my sons. My time with my children was a highlight of my life. I must have done it well. Unity Village presented me with a Distinguished Youth Service Award after 10 years of YOU work. I spent 10 years in a Course in Miracles group with a gentleman named Joe Gorman. And then after Joe left, I spent 10 years leading that group myself or facilitating that group myself after Joe stepped down. I was on the board several times, served as board president, was involved in 2 minister searches. I know what it is that you're going through. And I know what Kevin is going through. And I was board president when it came time to close Unity West. It was a tough time. My parents were instrumental in starting the church, and it was not lost on me that I was involved in closing it down. I was exhausted, I suppose a bit angry at God for having to dissolve the church. And I spent several years in the church of sleeping in on Sunday. But when one door closes, another one opens. It was probably only 8 weeks ago that I decided I'd had enough of sleeping in. And I walked through these doors needing to reestablish a focused spiritual life. In an odd twist of the universe, I came to UCIM just in time to see Mary retire. While Mary's retirement might be unsettling and frightening to some of you, I can assure you that all is well, and the right spiritual leader is already on his or her path to this facility. It's incumbent upon all of us to rest in the realization that God is at work, and we have no cause for angst or anxiety. Through the years at Unity West, I was a guest speaker several times, something I really enjoyed. After all, I got a chance to stand up here and talk about myself without having spent several years in ministerial school. I was grateful when Kevin asked that I speak to you this morning. It restarted a path I'd been off of for far too long, and I'm hoping to get back on that path. I hope that something I say this morning resonates with you and makes you glad that you showed up to hear the new guy. We are in the third week of Advent. Advent comes from the Latin adventus, meaning coming or arrival. It celebrates the physical birth of Christ and metaphysically the birth of our awakened Christ consciousness. Charles Fillmore said, "What Jesus brought to us was a spark of new light, new possibility, light that shines through the darkness of human confusion and illuminates the spiritual truth of who we are." The 4 Advent Sundays have distinctive themes: hope, peace, joy, and love. Today, we're going to talk about joy. The daily word we read today said, "I discovered joy by connecting with the Christ within," and goes on to say, "We discover joy through service." Charles said, "When men think a great deal about spiritual things, and especially about God as an indwelling spiritual presence, both mind and body are thrilled with joy, a feeling of satisfaction, and a tendency to break out in songs of gladness." God wants us to be joyful. He wants us to feel the same joy the wise men did when they found Jesus in the manger. But life happens, and joy gets buried under the coming and going of everyday life. Now, Buddhists believe that joy is the natural state, but that the ability to experience joy can also be cultivated as a skill. Our desire for happiness is, in a way, an attempt to rediscover that natural state. I'm going to get a drink of water here real quick. In 1978, psychologists published a study that found that lottery winners were not significantly happier than those that had been paralyzed in an accident. They discovered that we have a kind of set point that determines our happiness over the course of our life. In other words, we get accustomed to any new situation and inevitably return to our general state of happiness. Later on, other psychologists suggested that perhaps 50% of our happiness is determined by a combination of genes and circumstances over which we have no control. But the other 50% is determined by our attitude and actions over which we have great control. According to them, the 3 factors that seem to have the greatest influence on our happiness are our ability to reframe the situation more positively, our ability to experience gratitude, and our choice to be kind and generous. So how do we influence our own happiness? What I will talk about this morning are ways to rediscover joy, ways to make yourself joyful in the face of the crazy world that we live in. How many of us are looking for joy outside of ourselves? How often do we confuse the happiness of external factors with the true joy that can only come from within? We think that if we get the new job, or the big house, or the new car, or the new relationship, that life will be grand. That is not joy. Happiness with a reason for it is just another form of misery. Happiness that comes from a new car will last only until your first door ding. In fact, underneath all external happiness has to be the understanding that when the external event goes away, your happiness goes with it. I have a quote from Emily Cady in her book, Lessons in Truth. She says, "So ever the mind has been turned to some external change of condition or circumstance in pursuit of satisfaction and enjoyment. In after years, when men have tried it all, getting first this thing and then that, which they thought would yield them happiness, and have been grievously disappointed, in a kind of desperation, they turn to God and try to find some sort of comfort in believing that sometime, somewhere, they will get what they want and be happy. Thenceforth, their lives are patient and submissive, but they are destitute of any real joy. In essence, we get beaten down until we submit and pray that somewhere, somehow, we'll find peace and joy in our lives." But this desperate turning to God that she talks about is not turning to God to find joy, but turning to God to ask things that we think will bring joy. That's the failure. It's a tactic born to fail. There's no joy in anything external to you. Back to the daily word this morning. I discover joy by connecting with the Christ within. So how do we do that? What's the path to joy? How do we connect to the Christ within so that we can touch God's joy? How do we cultivate joy as a way of being, not just a temporary feeling? Prayer and meditation comes to mind as the simple answer. After all, we're a group that focuses on prayer and meditation. But have you heard the adage, pray and move your feet? Or pray but tie up your camel? What do we pray for? And what do we do after we pray? When I started into this, I had no idea. In fact, when I mentioned someone that I was going to speak on joy, she giggled. Apparently, my picture is not in the dictionary under joy. But never fear, serendipity to the rescue. This book, The Book of Joy, was on our coffee table. Ordered one day because somebody recommended that we read it. And it was delivered by Amazon and sat on our coffee table until I sat down on the couch one day and said, okay, I have to talk about joy. And Lynn said, well, there's a book right there. So let me read from the overleaf in this book. This is about the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, who got together for 5 days to discuss joy. It says Nobel Peace Prize laureates, His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu have survived more than 50 years of exile in the soul-crushing violence of oppression. Despite their hardships, or as they would say, because of them, they are two of the most joyful people on the planet. In April 2015, Archbishop Tutu traveled to the Dalai Lama's home in Dharamsala, India, to celebrate His Holiest 80th birthday and create what they had hoped would be a gift for others. They looked back on their long lives to answer a single burning question: how do we find joy in the peace of life's inevitable suffering? Indeed. So I read the book, and it contains some answers I'd like to share with you this morning. In the book, they explore the nature of true joy and confront each of the obstacles to joy, from fear, stress, anger, to grief, illness, and death. Not going to spend much time up here talking about the obstacles to joy. I think we could all write a big list. They also offer to us what they call the 8 pillars of joy, which they say will provide a foundation for lasting happiness. So what are those pillars? I'll list them first, and then we'll discuss them. They are perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity. And if you want a reminder during the week, I have little slips of paper up here with the list on them. You can come up and get one after the service. Let's go through them. The first one, perspective. Getting a wider perspective comes from stepping back to see a bigger picture of the problem or situation. We need to get past our own limited self-interest and see a perspective that considers the interests of others. They suggest describing your problem as if it was occurring to someone else, and to imagine the problem from a week, month, or year from now, a decade from now. How will this problem affect you? We all know where we were on 9/11. On 9/11, I was running a business, and it wasn't good for me. But 5 years after 9/11, my business was booming. I had new products, life was good. We project today's misery into the future and figure it will always be so. We know the power of our thoughts, and a poor perspective can't possibly lead to joy. The Dalai Lama said, for every event in life, there are many different angles. When you look at the event from a wider perspective, your sense of worry and anxiety reduces, and you have greater joy. Perhaps a God's eye view of the situation would help the next time someone cuts you off on the highway. Might at least be worth a try. They said that perspective leads to humility and the recognition that we can't solve everything and control all aspects of our life. We can try, thinking that will bring us joy, but it will only lead to frustration and then to anger. Humility helps us remember our common bond with other people. We are all children of one God and one of 7 billion people on the planet. Think about all the people responsible for your life, your parents, relatives, teachers, coworkers, the countless people responsible for what you have each day. Your ability to pick up an orange in a grocery store is dependent on hundreds of people and dozens of organizations. Contemplate your relatives from 100 years ago and the hardships they had to undergo so that you could be sitting here today. And think of your friends that give your life meaning. We need to allow our heart to open and experience love and appreciation for all these people. There's a Tibetan prayer I found that says, whenever I see someone, may I never feel superior. From the depth of my heart, may I be able to really appreciate the other person in front of me. And Emily Cady says, however humble your place in life, however unknown to the world you may be, however small your capabilities may seem at present to you, you are just as much a necessity to God in his efforts to get himself into visibility as the most brilliant intellect and the most thoroughly cultured person in the world. It's okay to be humble. And when we have humility, we can laugh at ourselves. We don't take ourselves so seriously. You might not think of yourself as a humorous person, but the ability to laugh at ourselves in the situations we find ourselves in, like perspective, is something we can learn over time. The Dalai Lama laughed at his limited English. The Archbishop laughed at his big nose. What can you laugh at about yourself? Think of a situation you might find yourself in that could make you angry. Your flight's been delayed. You have to reschedule. How many times have we watched people rush up to the counter all angry and irritated with the people when that's not going to help anything? Is there something there that you could find humorous? Something there that makes the situation a happier situation? Humor is a good way to end conflict. Who can be angry and laugh at the same time? I know that I can't. We need to laugh at life. In his book, Jesus Christ Heals, Charles Fillmore said, one of the most direct and effective shatterers of fear is laughter. Laugh your fears away. I feel like I should tell a joke here, but I don't have one. The book goes on to say that any possibility of joy requires an acceptance of reality. We know the serenity prayer. God, give us the grace to accept with serenity the things that cannot be changed, courage to change the things that should be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish one from another. How often do we fight against what is? How many times has fighting what is changed the circumstance? You might not like what's happened, but it's in the past and you cannot change it. The only thing you can do is control how you react to it. That's our only responsibility. Emily Cady says, no person or thing in the universe, no chain of circumstances can by any possibility interpose itself between you and all joy, all good. You may think that something stands between you and your heart's desire, and so live with that desire unfulfilled, but it's not true. This think is the bugaboo under the bed that has no reality. Deny it. Deny it, and you will find yourself free, and you will recognize that the seeming was all false. Then you will see the good flowing into you, and you will see clearly that nothing can stand between you and your own. And of course, when she talks about denying it, she's not talking about denying the reality of the circumstance, but denying its ability to disturb our peace of mind. I like that line. This think is the bugaboo under our bed. Thinking is not all it's cracked up to be. Trying to think your way out of difficulty is an ego trip. You are not going to be able to do it. I know. I've tried. There's a Chinese parable that goes something like this, and some of you might know this. A farmer and his son had a beloved stallion, which helped the family earn a living. One day, the horse ran away, and their neighbors explained, "Your horse ran away. What terrible luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." A few days later, the horse returned home, leading a few wild mares back to the farm as well. The neighbors shouted, "Your horse has returned," and brought several horses with them. What great luck. The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." Later that week, the farmer's son was trying to break one of the mares, and she threw him to the ground, breaking his leg. The villagers cried, "Your son broke his leg. What terrible luck." The farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." A few weeks later, soldiers from the National Army marched through town, recruiting all the able-bodied boys into the army. They did not take the farmer's son, still recovering from his injury. Friends shouted, "Your boy is spared. What tremendous luck." To which the farmer replied, "Maybe so, maybe not. We'll see." The moral of the story is, of course, that in no event, in and of itself, can it truly be judged as good or bad, lucky or unlucky, fortunate or unfortunate, but that only time will tell the whole story. Additionally, no one really lives long enough to find out the whole story. So it can be considered a great waste of time to judge minor inconveniences as misfortunes. Acceptance is a key to happiness and joy. Now, next comes forgiveness. I could give a whole talk on forgiveness. There can be no joy without forgiveness. Forgiving can be hard. How often do we balk at forgiveness because we feel it's letting the other person off the hook? Nothing could be further from the truth. Forgiveness is not something we give to others. It's a gift we give ourselves. Why do we insist on giving people that hurt us free rent in our head? Carrying hurt around with us is toxic to ourselves and those around us. In a situation that calls for forgiveness, you need to acknowledge that you can't know everything that is going on in someone's life. We are all trying to do the best we can, the best we know how to do. For some people, that might not be a lot, but it's all they know. My mother passed away in June of this year at the age of 98. I'll be honest, I had some issues with my mother. We probably can all look back at our parents and find some fault. My mother was probably doing the best she knew how to do, given her upbringing and life circumstances. For me to be upset with her is nonsensical. The only option I have is to forgive whatever hurt I felt and move on. I had my faults as a parent. I've already apologized to my kids. I was doing the best I could at the time. It would be awful if my kids carried around anger as a result of their upbringing. If I want forgiveness from my children because I was doing the best I could, shouldn't I give the same courtesy to others? And most of the time, it's more difficult to forgive ourselves than it is someone else. But the same rules apply. If we can forgive others, we can use the same tools to forgive ourselves. So cut yourself some slack. In all circumstances, you were doing the best that you knew how to do at the time. Not forgiving yourself is keeping you trapped and keeping you away from joy. Now on to gratitude. The Dalai Lama said, every day, think as you get up. I am fortunate to be alive. I have a precious human life. I'm not going to waste it. Charles Fillmore said, it's an easy matter to give thanks for what we have already received, but it's not so easy to give thanks for what we hope to receive. However, giving thanks in advance brings to pass a present expectation. It's not happiness that makes us grateful. It's gratefulness that makes us happy. We think that gratitude is a spontaneous feeling, but research demonstrates its value as a practice, a conscious effort to count one's blessings. It starts with noticing all that is good around you. Sometimes when you're facing a tough decision, be grateful for it. Some people wouldn't mind having such a decision to make. I read that gratitude's like a windshield wiper, wiping away the dirt and the rain that would otherwise cloud our vision. And there's a lot of literature on journaling on gratitude at the end of the day. It's not difficult. You just have to get started. Write down 3 good things that happened to you during the day and identify the cause. Write thank you notes to others. Think about people who have inspired you. Imagine what your life would be like if some positive event had not occurred. Now we go to compassion. The Dalai Lama emphasized that compassionate concern for others is instinctive, that we are hardwired to connect and care. He understands we are growing and learning how to be compassionate, how to be caring, how to be human. He thinks that too much self-centered thinking is the source of suffering, and compassionate care for others' well-being is the source of happiness. Compassion is not pity, agreement, or a waiving of your rights. You can have compassion for people who've wronged you while also insisting that they treat you better. Compassion by itself opens your heart and nourishes people you care about. Those who receive your compassion are more likely to be patient, forgiving, and compassionate with you. Compassion reflects the wisdom that everything is related to everything else, and it naturally draws into you the feeling more connected with all things. Additionally, compassion can incline you to helpful action. For example, one study showed that motor circuits in the brain lit up when people were feeling compassionate, as if they're getting ready to do something about the suffering they were sensing. The Archbishop said, compassion is not just feeling with someone, but seeking to change the situation. Frequently, people think compassion and love are merely sentimental. No, they're very demanding. If you're going to be compassionate, be prepared for action. The Dalai Lama said that if we see a person being crushed by rock, the goal is not to get under the rock and feel what they are feeling. The goal is to help remove the rock. And generosity is a natural outgrowth of compassion. The line between the two can be hard to distinguish. But we don't need to wait until feelings of compassion arrive before we choose to be generous. Oddly enough, It seems that money can buy happiness. Researcher Elizabeth Dunn and her colleagues found that people experience greater happiness when they spend money on others than when they spend it on themselves. We receive when we give. How many of you know why the Dead Sea is dead? It receives fresh water, but there's no outlet. So the water doesn't pass out. The water just goes bad. That's why they call it the Dead Sea. It receives, but it does not give. We are made the same way. We must give if we are to receive. I'm not talking about money or physical things, but time and effort as well. In the happiness literature, there's a great deal of research on the importance of having a sense of purpose. Purpose fundamentally is about how we can contribute and be generous to others, how we feel needed by and of value to others. And there are other ways to give other than time or money. In Buddhist teachings, there are three kinds of generosity: material giving, giving freedom from fear, and spiritual giving, which can involve giving your wisdom, helping people become more sufficient, self-sufficient, and happier. Now, this has gone on a little longer this morning than I'd hoped. But after reading this book and learning about perspective, humility, humor, acceptance, forgiveness, gratitude, compassion, and generosity, I think I will be able to find more joy in my life. I hope that you can too. Thank you. Now, Julie, I've asked Julie to introduce a new song to us to go into meditation. And the meditation that we're going to do is right out of this book itself. It's much better than a meditation I could write.
So the lyrics are up there for you. I'm going to just sing through that before you change the cell on that. Keep it there because then we're going to start again. So in other words, I'll sing through it so you get the melody and the words, and then we'll start again at the top. There's mud. Okay. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Now try it with us. Our thoughts are prayers, and we are always praying. Our thoughts are prayers. Listen to what you're saying. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer. Second verse. Our thoughts are prayers, the tools that we create with. Our thoughts are prayers that spirit resonates with. Seek a higher consciousness, a state of peacefulness, and know that God is always there. And every thought becomes a prayer.
Thank you, Julie. Now let's find a comfortable sitting position. Close your eyes and let's take several long breaths through your nose and out. Think of someone you love very much, a relative or friend, or even a pet. Try to either see their face in your mind's eye or feel their presence. And notice how your heart feels when you think of them. Feel whatever arises. If you feel warmth, tenderness, or affection, stay with these feelings. If not, just stay with the thought of your loved one. Silently say the following lines. May you be free from suffering. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you find peace and joy. Breathe in. As you breathe out, imagine a warm light coming from the center of your heart, carrying your love to your loved one and bringing them peace and joy. Recognize and rejoice in the thought of your loved one's happiness. Remember when this person was having a difficult time. Notice what it feels like to experience their pain. Does your heart ache? Do you have a feeling of unease in your stomach? Desire to help? Simply notice the feeling and stay with them. And silently offer the following phrases. May you be free from suffering. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you find peace and joy. Imagine that a warm light emerges from the center of your heart and touches the person you have in mind, easing their suffering. Finish with the heartfelt wish that they be free of suffering. Now think of a time when you experienced great difficulty, when you were a child or perhaps even now. Reflect on the fact that just like all people, you want to be happy and free of suffering. Silently offer the following phrases. May I be free from suffering. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I find peace and joy. Imagine someone you neither like nor dislike. Someone you might see frequently at work or the store or the gym, but do not have a strong positive or negative feelings toward. Reflect on the fact that just like all people, this person wants to be happy and free from suffering. Now imagine this person is faced with suffering, in conflict with a loved one or experiencing despair or grief. Allow your heart to feel warmth, tenderness, and caring for this person, and an urge to help them. Now silently offer the following phrase. May you be free from suffering. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you find peace and joy. Reflect on the fact that everyone on the planet has the fundamental desire to be happy and to be free of suffering. Fill your heart with the desire that all be free of suffering, perhaps even someone with whom you have a difficult relationship. Silently repeat these phrases. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings find peace and joy. Allow your feelings of compassion and concern to fill your heart and feel the warmth, tenderness, and caring. Let's sit for a minute and radiate this feeling of compassion out to the world. Now slowly come back to the room. And I'm going to turn this over to Kevin.
Thanks, Russ. Well, it's time for our offering, and I saw a pretty good joke this week. It was this. Little Billy was playing with the change drawer and a jar, and he threw a couple coins in his mouth and swallowed them. Well, Mom started getting all upset. Dad, call the doctor. Billy just swallowed money. He says, I'm not calling the doctor, I'm calling the minister. Nobody can get money out of somebody faster than that minister. So that is the minister we're looking for, by the way. So, so please take your offering in your hands and let's say this prayer. There is no lack or limitation. Freely I give and freely I receive from God's abundance. I am blessed as I give, and unity is blessed in receiving. And as we take the collection, we'll have some more music from Julie and Doug.
Well, it's nice to have you, Russ. We go back to Unity West time when I first, yes, when I first came to Wisconsin. So feels like home to have you. And the theme of joy, and this one popped in to my head. I had just actually learned it, so I don't know if I can really say it popped into my head. I just learned it. Somebody taught it to me about a week ago, and I said, this is fun. This made me smile, so I hope it'll make you smile too. By Stan Rogers. Last Boxing Day, the spouse went out, the white sails for to sea. A truckload of lots bought half-price paper and tinsel for the tree. I packed it up for use this year in a box I marked so plain. That stuff would surely be handy now, but it's never been seen again. At last I'm ready for Christmas. I've even finished the tree. Let me fix this. At last I'm ready for Christmas like I thought I'd never be. With my feet propped up by a good hot fire and a matching inside glow. At last I'm ready for Christmas with nearly 2 hours to go. We swore this year we'd start off early, no need to rush around. The intention was to start in August when the prices still were down. But it was dentist this and new bike that, and the money melts away. So I had to wait for my Christmas bonus, and I did it all yesterday. At last I'm ready for Christmas. I've almost finished the tree. At last I'm ready for Christmas like I thought I'd never be. With my feet propped up by a good hot fire and a matching inside glow. At last I'm ready for Christmas. Nearly 2 hours to go. Must be fools, just look at that pile. You can hardly see the tree. We said this year we'd keep things simple, then did our usual spree. But it feels so good when the kids go nuts. It's worth the toil and strain. These kids are only this young once, and they'll never be so again. Try it with me. At last I'm ready for Christmas. I've even finished the tree. At last I'm ready for Christmas like I thought I'd never be. With my feet propped up by a good hot fire and a matching inside glow. At last I'm ready for Christmas with nearly 2 hours to go. At last I'm ready for Christmas. I've almost finished the tree.
At last, I'm ready for Christmas like I thought I'd never be. With my feet propped up on a good hot fire and a matching inside glow. At last, I'm ready for Christmas with nearly 2 hours to go. Thank you. Thanks, Doug.
Thanks very much. That was great. Yes, I would. I like to write some funny Christmas songs, so that's a good one. So can we have the offering? All right, join me. Let's pray over these offerings and trust that these gifts will be multiplied and applied to all that we need for this center to thrive, for us to help each other and extend that help out into this community for the greater good of all and for the glory of God. Amen. All right, announcements. We have a lost item from last week. There was a black onyx ring that was lost at the church. At least we think it was at the church last week. So if anybody knows anything about that, please come and see me or anybody that's that you know is a member of the church of the board. So, and just keep your eyes open if you in case you just come across it between now and the time you leave the church. So thanks. Okay, reminder, we have a Life Journey group. That's a spiritual discussion group and meditation group that meets at the second and fourth Mondays, 6:30 to 8:15. Our next meeting is Monday, tomorrow. Cindy Whedon facilitates. We have the minister's book study, The Inner Work of Aging by Connie Zwig. So we started that book. We're through the first chapter, I think. And that's on Thursdays, right here from 9:15 to 10:45. You can also join on Zoom. I would just need to have your email address so I could send you the invite. We have the Silent Unity Prayer Service every Thursday at 11. So that's immediately following the book club. And the same applies. You can be here in person or you can do it on Zoom with us. It takes about 15 minutes as we go through our prayer intentions. Midweek meditation, we're still posting these online. So invest some time in your spiritual practice and feel free to visit the website or the Facebook page every Wednesday. And also, if you can't find time for that, try to take a moment at noon every day for a short meditation with all of us. We'd really appreciate it. A Course in Miracles is meeting after service every week. So 11:45 in the fireside room. Joanne Bauman in the back there is the facilitator. So please feel free to join anytime you wish. And we're going to have a Burning Bowl service on December 26th. Sandy Kraus is going to lead that. So if you've ever done the Burning Bowl service before, you know that it's really a nice way to kind of release the past and be ready to move into the new year. So we encourage you to be here that Sunday. And Friendship and Potluck Sunday is always the last Sunday of the month. That will be December 26th as well. And a reminder that we have a mitten tree out in the lobby, the gathering space, and please feel free to drop off mittens, hats, scarves, especially kids, and PJs and undies and socks are also welcome. They're going to be given to a homeless shelter in Milwaukee called Casa Maria. And we will have a Christmas Eve service this year, Friday evening, the 24th. It'll start at 5:30 and run for about 45 minutes. And hopefully you can make it for that too. There'll be lots of singing and we'll, of course, light our candles. It'll be a real special evening. And now, if you could just stand up, we're going to sing our unity song. We recorded it last week when, oh, no, that's fine. You can, please feel free. I forgot that we could have a live person here. So we'll just do the live version here.
I forgot to
practice it. So
Uh-oh.
let's play the tape at the same time. No. All right. Thank you, Doug. We follow Christ, the unity way, the way of study and prayer. When help we need, to him we turn and find him always there. UNITY, unity. We love the truth that makes us free. We broadcast a message of truth, light, and light. We live with God in unity. We glory in our unity growth in body, spirit, and soul. To see the Christ in everyone that makes us well and whole. UNITY, unity. We love the truth that makes us free. We broadcast a message of truth, light, and love. We live with God in unity.
All right, let's gather in a circle, join hands, or maybe just place your hand on the shoulder of the person next to you if you don't wish to hold hands. And we'll sing Let There Be Peace on Earth to close our service.
Peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all agree. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Light of God surrounds us, love of God informs us, power of God protects us, presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, so it is.
I know, so easy to say, but for years.